If you were a woman in Victorian London, lifting your skirt with both hands to avoid a puddle of raw sewage wasn't just a mistake, it was a social death sentence. In an era where even the shape of a banana was considered a threat to public morality, you didn't just eat fruit, you dissected it with a silver knife and fork. And the worst part? These weren't just silly rules for the rich, they were a survival mechanism for a world spinning out of control. And if you were watching this in 1850, you'd already be a social outcast. This was weaponized etiquette, the most elaborate system of social engineering ever created to separate the respectable from the rabble. Today, we're looking at the dark reason these insane rules existed, why you'd fail this survival test in minutes, and the invisible Victorian codes that are still secretly running your life today. Let's suppose you've just arrived in Victorian London as a new member of the middle class. Congratulations on your factory earnings. Now comes your first test, making social calls. You're about to fail. Immediately. Let's understand why this system existed. Before the Industrial Revolution, social status was simple. You were born into it. Suddenly, factories and global trade created wealthy merchants and industrialists. They had money, but no aristocratic pedigree. These nouveau riche needed to prove they were respectable, distance themselves from the working class masses, and show they belonged among the elite. The solution? A learned system of manners so complex that only people with time, money, and education could master it. Etiquette became the fortress protecting middle-class identity, a way to say, we're not like them, without saying it out loud. Back to your social call. In an age before phones, personal visits were the only way to maintain social standing. But you couldn't just show up. First, you left your calling card, a small piece of engraved paper functioning as your social passport. The paper quality, the engraving elegance, and most importantly, how you folded the corners told people everything about you before you spoke. This is the bizarre bit. Upper right corner folded, you visited in person. Upper left, congratulations. Lower left, condolences. Fold the entire end, that's for all the ladies of the house. Get any of this wrong and you've committed a social crime people will remember for years. The timing. Morning calls, which actually happened afternoons between 2 and 5 p.m. because Victorians loved being confusing, lasted exactly 15 to 30 minutes. Not 14, not 31. Stay longer and you're overstaying your welcome. Leave too early and you've suggested the hosts are boring. And yes, doing either of these was social suicide. If the lady of the house returned your card within 2 weeks, you were accepted. If she didn't, you'd been rejected with no recourse. Some Victorian women found this cycle so exhausting they described it as a bugbear, draining their vitality and nervous system, and this was just to maintain friendships. The kicker? Your business card is the direct descendant of the Victorian calling card. That anxiety when you hand someone your card, wondering if they'll contact you, that's a 200-year-old feeling. The Victorians invented professional networking anxiety. Suppose you've navigated the calling card system and been invited to dinner. Excellent. Time to eat? Wrong. Time to perform in a 3-hour theatrical production where one wrong move ruins your reputation forever. First, the table setting. Thick white tablecloth. Mandatory to muffle plate sounds because noise was vulgar. Multiple forks on the left, multiple knives and spoons on the right, an oyster fork way out on the right side. Glasses in the upper right, never filled more than 3/4 full. Bread plate on the upper left. Get any of this wrong and everyone notices. The meal, at least 60 minutes at the table, often stretching to hours. Raw oysters, soup, carved meats with sides, dessert. Here are your rules. No noise while chewing or swallowing, not even the tiniest sound drawing liquid from a spoon. Forearms and elbows never touch the table, sit perfectly upright for hours, only discuss light, positive topics. No politics, no religion, nothing argumentative. And my favorite, you must accept the last piece of food on any dish because declining it implies your host was too poor to provide more. Specialized foods required specialized techniques. Asparagus. Upper-class people used specialized asparagus tongs to lift the spear and chomp down on the tip, like some vegetable guillotine. Oranges. Never peeled by hand, placed on a spiked dish, cut in half, eaten with a serrated orange spoon. An orange spoon, because regular spoons couldn't handle citrus. Bananas. Considered immoral because of their shape, yes, really. But let's be honest, they did get this one right. Of course, you couldn't just eat it normally. It had to be peeled with a knife and fork and eaten in small, delicate morsels. Just grab a banana and peel it like a normal human. You've just marked yourself as hopelessly common, all while making polite conversation, never eating too much, and maintaining perfect posture for hours. Why this matters today. Next time you're at a fancy restaurant feeling anxious about which fork to use, or instinctively lowering your voice because loud talking feels wrong, or avoiding politics at a dinner party. That's Victorian etiquette still controlling you. The white tablecloth, the multi-course structure, women served first, all Victorian. We're still performing their rules with slightly less absurdity. Suppose you were a woman in Victorian society. The rules just tripled, and your life is now a performance that never ends. Here's why. The Victorian middle class needed to prove their respectability, and nothing proved it better than a wife who didn't work. A woman's idleness was visible proof of her husband's success. So women were locked into separate spheres ideology. Men occupied the public world of commerce and politics. Women occupied the private world of the home. You were expected to be the angel in the house. Graceful, calm, elegant, obedient, morally perfect. Your primary job? Marry well and represent your husband's power through your dress, poise, and social interactions. Walking down the street. When crossing, you raised your dress with your right hand, just above the ankle. Using both hands was vulgar, excused only in the deepest mud. Too much ankle. Scandalous. In public, you never acknowledged a gentleman first. You waited for him to recognize you, then he could lift his hat using the hand farthest from you. Make eye contact too long? Forward? Look down too much? Submissive. Rapid blinking meant, I am interested. Get the signals wrong and you've either led someone on or mortally offended them. Fail to meet society's expectations, don't marry well, behave improperly, show too much independence. In a society with no female safety net, no legal rights once married, and no property ownership, you could end up dependent on male relatives or facing poverty. When a gentleman entered a room, you stood. When he left, you stood. You were served first at meals as a sign of respect, but really, it was just another reminder that you existed to be decorative and deferential. Ever feel judged more harshly for your appearance than your male colleagues? Notice how women are expected to be likable while men just need to be competent. Wonder why women have far more complicated business casual rules. The Victorian obsession with women as visual representatives of male success never fully died, it just got a makeover. Because direct romantic expression was forbidden, Victorian women developed secret languages using everyday accessories. Under a chaperone's watchful eye, usually an elderly female relative at every social event, young women had to communicate with potential suitors through coded gestures. The hand fan became a communication device. Open wide. Wait for me. Fanning slowly. I am married. Close to your right eye. When can I see you? Resting on your right cheek. Yes. Left cheek? No. And this wasn't even the half of it. Imagine remembering all this while maintaining perfect posture, making polite conversation, and not accidentally insulting someone with the wrong fork. Parasols had their own language. Twirling it meant indifference. Carrying it over your right shoulder meant, you can speak to me. Dropping it, the ultimate declaration, I love you. This wasn't romantic, it was exhausting. Victorian courtship was a silent mime show performed under surveillance, where one wrong gesture could ruin your reputation and marriage prospects forever. Suppose someone in your family died. In the modern world, you'd grieve privately, attend a funeral, maybe wear black to the service. In Victorian England, you're spending the next 2 years in a highly visible public performance of sorrow. The burden fell almost entirely on women. If your husband died, you entered full mourning for 1 year and 1 day. Dull black crepe fabric, a weeping veil covering your face, only jet jewelry. You couldn't attend social events, only church. You were, essentially, removed from society. Then second mourning for 9 months, black silk, veil lifted, slightly more ornamentation, gradual return to society. Then half mourning for 3 to 6 months, finally wearing colours like lilac, purple, grey and mauve. Over 2 years of your life, dedicated to performing grief according to a rigid dress code. Meanwhile, men. A black band on the sleeve or crepe band on the hat for a few weeks, encouraged to return to work immediately and remarry whenever they wanted because their primary role was the breadwinner. The cost of an appropriate mourning wardrobe was enormous, creating a thriving mourning warehouse industry. Wealthy families would outfit their entire household staff in black. Poorer families struggled, dyeing existing garments or borrowing clothes just to meet society's expectations of proper grief. This wasn't about processing loss, it was about proving you could afford to mourn correctly. But Victorian society had a weapon more devastating than any insult: the cut. The ultimate social punishment worked like this. You stare directly at an acquaintance without acknowledging them. Look right through them, as if they don't exist. This was considered the most ill-mannered act possible, which is ironic because it was deliberately deployed to destroy people who'd committed moral or social transgressions. If you were cut by an important person, others followed suit. You'd be socially annihilated, excluded from calling card networks, uninvited from dinners, essentially exiled from respectable society. No appeals process, no reputation rehabilitation. One serious mistake, marrying below your station, getting divorced, being involved in a scandal, and you could be cut out permanently. The constant surveillance, the rigid rules, the threat of social execution, it created a culture where everyone performed Victorian perfection while often leading secret double lives. Outward moral rectitude concealed a reality where adultery was common among the upper classes, provided it didn't cause public scandal. The Victorian obsession with etiquette wasn't about being polite. It was a sophisticated survival mechanism created by the rising middle class during the Industrial Revolution, as factories created new wealth. Without traditional pedigree, Etiquette became the way to prove you belonged, a learned performance, separating the respectable from the masses. But the cost was brutal. Every moment regulated, every gesture scrutinized, every social interaction a potential minefield where one wrong move destroyed your reputation forever. You couldn't visit friends without elaborate calling card rituals. You couldn't eat a banana without special utensils. You couldn't cross a street without thinking about ankle exposure. You couldn't grieve without performing for an audience. You couldn't express romantic interest without deploying a secret language of fan positions. Modern people romanticize the Victorian era, the elegance, the refinement, the beautiful manners. But if you actually tried to live by Victorian etiquette rules for even a single day, you'd be exhausted, confused, and probably socially ruined by dinner. And here's the uncomfortable truth: we haven't escaped Victorian etiquette, we've just simplified it. Your business card is still a calling card, your formal dinner anxiety is still Victorian table fear, your instinct to judge people by their manners, dress, or speech patterns. That's the Victorian class system still operating in your brain. Even our weddings are Victorian cosplay. The white dress, the tiered cake, the flower girls, all popularized by Queen Victoria herself. The rules are less rigid now, but the underlying principle remains: prove you're respectable through learned performance or face social consequences. So, next time someone complains that modern society has lost its manners, remind them, Victorian etiquette was so elaborate, so rigid, and so exhausting that it took a world war to finally kill it off. And maybe we should be grateful we only worry about which fork to use, instead of how to properly fold a calling card corner while eating a banana with a knife and fork. If you enjoyed learning how history still controls your social anxiety, please subscribe. Have a great week and don't forget to like the video. Cheers.